Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, Real English Conversation. Advanced English lesson topic name is The Art of Fluency, 5 Techniques of Successful English Learners. So if you're listening, chances are you've spent some time learning English or really any complex skill. And you probably know that feeling, right? That intense frustration when progress just stalls.
Oh yeah, hits a wall.
Exactly. You feel like you've done everything, you've memorized the grammar charts, downloaded all those apps, but then the moment comes. You need to say something complex, join a fast conversation.
And poof, it's gone.
Your brain just freezes, the vocabulary vanishes, and that old friend self-doubt, well, it just walks right in.
It's a really common experience, unfortunately.
It really is. And that's what we're diving deep into today. We're unpacking the secrets behind the art of fluency, specifically looking at 5 techniques used by people who really succeed with English. We've synthesized, the habits, the methods, the mindsets of people who don't just study English, they genuinely master it. They get that natural confidence.
And the key finding, I think, is that it's not magic.
No. Not at all. They don't have some kind of innate linguistic superpower. It turns out they use a specific, pretty deliberate set of effective techniques.
Techniques anyone can learn, really.
That's the goal. These strategies offer, a roadmap, a way to move beyond that cycle of just memorizing lists and passively listening, which often just doesn't cut it.
Right. It's about moving into something more dynamic, more rewarding.
Towards, natural expression. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it. And I think it's crucial right at the start to understand that fluency isn't some final destination you arrive at.
Like a finish line you cross.
Exactly. It's more like a continuous process. An engine, maybe, that you have to keep nurturing. And it's not just about how much effort you put in, but applying the right kind of habits and, crucially, having a certain mindset.
The methodology.
Yes, the methodology. So many learners focus just on the books, the apps, and they completely miss the how. How are they actually absorbing and, importantly, producing the language?
That makes sense.
And these 5 techniques we're going to talk about, they're all interconnected. You can't really isolate one. Think of them like parts of that engine or maybe a symphony. Each part reinforces the others.
Okay.
So if you neglect one, say you focus only on input but never practice speaking, the whole system just doesn't work as well.
Right, the engine sputters.
Pretty much. So today we're going deep into the how and the why behind real language mastery, starting with, how successful learners actually set up their environment.
Okay, let's jump into technique number 1 then, immersive exposure. Now, this one gets misunderstood a lot, I think.
Definitely.
When people hear immersion, they usually think, okay, got to book a flight to London or New York.
Right.
Move somewhere.
The geographical cure-all.
Yeah. But what we see with successful learners is different. For them, immersion is an active, really dedicated commitment to making English a core part of their daily life, no matter where they are. It's about intention, not location.
Absolutely. Intentionality is the key word there.
And we need to contrast that straight away with passive learning, because that's where a lot of time gets wasted.
Oh, huge amounts of time.
We've all done it. Put on an English podcast while doing dishes or music while working.
The background noise, baby.
Yeah, actually. And those traditional methods, relying on that kind of ambient sound, they often fail because our brains are wired for efficiency. They filter out constant background stuff as just noise. It doesn't flag it as important.
Your brain's just trying to save energy. It doesn't see it as essential information unless you force it to.
So it's a fundamental error, that passive approach.
It really is. If you're not actively engaging, maybe you'll pick up a word here or there, but you won't develop that intuitive feel, that quick mental access, or, and this is crucial, the physical muscle memory for speaking.
Muscle memory for language.
Yeah. Think about it. It's like trying to learn swimming by just watching videos of swimmers.
Okay, I see the analogy.
You might understand the theory, maybe how a breaststroke works, but the second you jump in the pool, nothing. You haven't trained the muscles, the coordination, the breathing. It's the same with language production.
Right. You need the actual practice.
Successful learners get this. They deliberately create a need for their brain to process English. And that drives them to build what we call a personal language bubble.
A language bubble. I like that. How do you build one?
It's actually quite systematic. It starts with the digital world.
Okay.
You change the language settings on your phone, your computer, your tablet. Definitely your social media accounts, change them all to English.
Oh, wow. That forces interaction.
Completely. Suddenly, every notification, every menu, every update prompt is in English. You have to read it to function. It shifts from I'll read English when I feel like it, to I must read English to use my devices.
That's a clever hack. What else?
Then there's the media consumption shift. It's not just watching English stuff, it's how you watch it. Actively.
How?
Well, you can layer it, start with English subtitles maybe, to connect the sounds and words.
Okay, standard practice.
Then level up. Switch to English captions for the hearing impaired. This is a subtle but really good step.
Why those specifically?
Because they often include more detailed descriptions of sounds, maybe non-verbal cues. It gives you richer context than just dialogue subtitle.
Ah, interesting.
And then the final step is watching without any captions. You keep gently pushing your auditory comprehension. That's how you build processing speed for real-world conversations.
Makes sense. It's progressive overload, like in fitness.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the physical environment integration either.
Like sticky notes.
Yeah, sticky notes on things around the house. Or leaving English magazines or articles lying around where you'll see them near the kettle, the TV remote. It's about constant, gentle reminders, little nudges.
So the overall goal is to make it almost inconvenient not to engage with English.
You got it. Yeah, make it unavoidable. But just being in the bubble isn't the whole story. You then need to practice active listening.
Okay, so not just hearing, but listening. How?
Well, first, focused listening. This means dedicating time, maybe 15, 20 minutes, to really listen to something, like a podcast or audiobook, without multitasking. No checking emails, no scrolling.
Just listen.
Just listen. Initially, focus only on the main ideas.
Sure.
Get the gist. Once that's comfortable, then you start listening for specifics, key phrases, idioms, how sentences are put together.
And this leads towards production, right?
Yes, precisely. 2 key techniques here. First, transcript comparison.
How does that work?
Listen to a short audio segment first, just for meaning. Then listen again while reading the transcript carefully. This is so vital. It bridges that gap between the fast, sometimes blurred sounds of speech and the actual written words.
Ah, so it clarifies pronunciation and word boundaries?
Exactly, before bad hearing habits get ingrained. But the second technique, maybe even more crucial for speeding up fluency later, is shadowing.
Shadowing, like following someone.
Kind of. It's intense. You listen to a short phrase or sentence and immediately repeat it out loud, trying your absolute best to match the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation, the melody of the language.
Wow, okay. So you're training your mouth and brain at the same time.
You are physically training your mouth muscles and neurologically training your brain for how English sounds and feels to produce naturally. It's a huge accelerator for speaking confidence, even if you're alone.
That sounds powerful.
It really is. It tunes your ear and your voice to the music of English. And while you're doing all this, encountering new words, you need to prioritize contextual clue seeking.
Meaning guess first.
Yes. Resist grabbing the dictionary immediately. Try to infer the meaning from the tone, the situation, the other words around it. Then look it up if you need to. It builds that crucial skill of dealing with ambiguity, which happens all the time in real conversations.
Right, you can't pause a real conversation to look up every word.
Exactly. And connecting this back, successful learners lean heavily on authentic materials.
Stuff made for native speakers, you mentioned.
Yes. Podcasts on hobbies they love, YouTube blogs, news sites, audiobooks related to their interests. Content made by native speakers for native speakers.
Why is that so important?
2 reasons: volume and variety. This kind of exposure gives you a massive, practical understanding of how English is actually used day to day, including slang, cultural nuances, everything textbooks miss.
But that sounds like it could get overwhelming fast, especially if you only understand, say, 60%.
It can. And that's where mindset comes in. Even here, successful learners manage this. They set realistic expectations. They don't aim for 100% understanding right away.
Patience.
Huge amounts of patience. They prioritize enjoyment. Finding materials they genuinely like helps sustain the habit. And they vary the difficulty. Sometimes it's okay to relax with an easy sitcom. Other times, push yourself with a complex documentary.
So manage the input strategically.
Exactly. Be patient with the input process, which sets the stage perfectly for the next technique, actually producing the language.
Okay, technique 2. Deliberate practice in speaking. The art of articulation. This is the big one for many people, isn't it?
Definitely the highest hurdle. All that input is great, but if it never comes out, it stays passive.
And the reasons people avoid speaking, we know them. Fear of mistakes, embarrassment.
Perfectionism. Waiting until they feel ready.
Which never happens if you don't practice.
Right. That state of readiness is a consequence of practice, not a prerequisite for it.
So successful learners understand this differently.
They do. They grasp that speaking isn't just the result of learning, it's a core part of the learning process itself. They really buy into the output hypothesis.
Output hypothesis.
Yeah, the idea that producing language speaking or writing is essential. It forces your brain to move from just passively understanding something to actively being able to use it, retrieve it quickly, structure it correctly. If you never try to say it, the pathways don't solidify.
Okay, so you have to speak to learn to speak. Well, what if you don't have anyone to talk to or you're too nervous?
Great question. You don't need a partner initially. Solo practice is incredibly valuable for building confidence and getting those speech muscles working without pressure.
How do you practice solo?
Self-talk is maybe the easiest way. Just narrate what you're doing, thinking, planning out loud in English. Okay, now I'm going to make some coffee. Need to find the filter. It's super low stakes, helps you access vocabulary, and builds an internal English monologue.
Talking to yourself in English. Got it.
Another one, powerful but maybe a bit uncomfortable at first, is recording yourself.
Ooh, I can see people cringing already.
No. Yes, but it's so effective. Use your phone, record yourself reading something aloud, summarizing an article, talking about your day, then listen back.
Why? What does that do?
You become your own critic. You'll immediately hear awkward phrasing, pronunciation mistakes you never noticed while speaking, rhythm issues. It provides instant, objective feedback that dramatically speeds up improvement.
Okay, painful but productive. What else for solo practice?
Don't underestimate simply reading aloud. It does more than just voice training. It helps you internalize natural sentence structures, phrasing, collocations, the way native speakers put words together. You practice production without the stress of thinking what to say.
Right, the content is provided.
Exactly. But solo practice can only take you so far. Eventually, you need real interaction.
Because the goal is communication.
Precisely. And the key here, based on what successful learners do, is consistency over duration.
Meaning?
Short, regular conversations, even just 5 or 10 minutes every day, are way more effective for building fluency than one long, stressful hour once a week.
Little and often. Where do people find these opportunities?
Lots of practical options now. Language exchange platforms like Tandem or HelloTalk are great for casual one-on-one practice.
Okay.
Online tutors offer more structured, personalized feedback if you need that targeted correction. And think about local meetups or clubs if they're available.
Or online communities.
Yes, especially online communities built around your hobbies. If you're into gaming, find an English-speaking gaming group. If you love gardening, join an English forum. When you talk about something you're passionate about, the practice feels natural and enjoyable, not like a chore.
That's a great tip integrated into your life.
Absolutely. And successful learners don't just stick to small talk. They move towards structured conversation practice.
Going beyond how are you?
Way beyond. This means deliberately practicing specific skills, like role-playing.
Acting out scenarios.
Exactly. Practice things like negotiating a price, giving a short presentation, ordering food with special requests, handling a complaint. It builds confidence for specific, real-world situations.
What about more complex talk?
That's where debate and discussion comes in. Engaging in discussions where you have to state an opinion, support it, and respond to others' points that develops much higher-level thinking and language skills than just chatting.
And storytelling.
Crucial. Practicing storytelling, recounting an event, summarizing a book or movie, telling an anecdote helps you improve narrative flow. Use descriptive language effectively and link ideas cohesively. Essential for longer turns in conversation.
So it's about targeted practice, not just random talking.
Very much so. And there's a really important strategic balance to strike here.
Which is?
Often, fluency needs to come before accuracy.
Get the flow first.
Yes. If you're constantly stopping yourself mid-sentence to fix a small grammar error, you kill your momentum and the conversation dies. Focus on getting the message across reasonably smoothly first. Then you can work on refining the grammar, often with feedback.
That requires a different mindset about mistakes, doesn't it?
Totally. Successful learners see mistakes not as failures, but as data. Invaluable data points telling them exactly what they need to work on next.
So embrace the errors.
Embrace them and manage the anxiety. Prepare a few key phrases beforehand if it helps. Focus on listening to the other person instead of your own internal critic. Use positive self-talk. It all helps lower the pressure.
Okay, that's a lot on speaking. Let's move to the fuel. Words. Technique 3. Strategic vocabulary acquisition. Beyond rote memorization.
Right. Vocabulary is the bedrock. But the way most people approach it, those endless lists of words with one-word translations, it's just not efficient.
The old school method, why is it bad?
Several reasons. First, lack of context. You learn the word, but not how or when to use it, its nuances, the words it typically goes with.
Okay.
Second, it creates passive knowledge. You might recognize the word if you see it written down, but you can't pull it out of your head and use it spontaneously in conversation.
Recognize versus recall.
Exactly. And third, because there are no strong connections, you forget it incredibly quickly. That forgetting curve is brutal with rote memorization. It just doesn't stick.
So what do successful learners do instead?
They see words differently, not as isolated dictionary entries, but as living things whose full meaning only really comes alive in context.
So contextual learning is key.
Paramount. And the single best way to do this, extensive reading, especially reading things you actually find interesting.
Why reading specifically?
Because you encounter words naturally, often repeatedly, within meaningful sentences. You see how they behave, what prepositions they like, what adjectives modify them, the tone they convey. You absorb the usage patterns.
And you mentioned inference before.
Yes. Actively practice inference. When you hit a new word, train yourself to guess its meaning first, based on the surrounding text, before you reach for the translator. This mental workout builds a much deeper, more flexible understanding than just getting a quick definition.
It makes the learning more active.
Absolutely. Now, for making sure those words actually stick long-term, technology can help. Specifically, spaced repetition systems, or SRS.
Like Anki or similar apps.
Exactly. SRS software is brilliant because it uses algorithms based on the spacing effect. It shows you a flashcard precisely when you're about to forget it. That calculated effort makes memory formation much stronger.
But aren't flashcards just lists in disguise?
They can be, if done badly. That's the critical difference. Successful learners create high-quality flashcards.
What makes a card high quality?
It avoids simple word-for-word translation. A good card should have the English definition, maybe a couple of different example sentences showing usage, synonyms, or antonyms, and ideally the original sentence where you found the word. Rich context.
Okay, much more than just word translation.
Much more. And the other key to SRS success is consistency. Short, daily reviews, 10, 15 minutes, is often enough compound massively over time. It builds a huge active vocabulary.
Now, you mentioned words behaving together earlier. Is that related?
Yes. That brings us to learning in chunks. This is what really makes English sound natural and fluent.
Chunks, like pieces.
Exactly. Fluent speakers don't usually build sentences word by word. They retrieve whole phrases, common pairings, grammatical chunks all at once.
Ah, like collocations.
Precisely. Words that just sound right together to a native speaker. We say heavy rain, not strong rain. We make a decision, not do a decision. Learning these common pairings makes your English sound instantly more natural.
And other kinds of chunks.
Phrases and idioms, too. Things like to cut corners or to get the hang of something, or, on the other hand, learning these as single units massively boosts fluency because your brain doesn't have to assemble them from scratch each time. It's a processing shortcut.
The fluency hack you mentioned.
It really is. And as you get more advanced, you start focusing on nuance and connotation.
Beyond just the basic meaning.
Right. Distinguishing between synonyms like the difference between look, see, watch, glance, gaze. They aren't interchangeable. Or understanding, register knowing when to use a formal word like commence versus an informal one like start. That precision marks advanced fluency.
Okay, so you learn the word strategically. Then what?
Then the most important step. Integrating into active production. The word isn't truly yours until you use it consistently.
So force yourself to use the new words.
Consciously, yes. For every new important word or phrase, try creating several original sentences that are relevant to your life. Then, make a deliberate effort to weave that new vocabulary into your next conversation, your next email, your journal entry. Recycle it actively. If you don't use it, you lose it, or at least it stays passive.
Use it or lose it. Got it. Okay, that flows nicely into technique 4, mastering grammar through use, pattern recognition and application. Grammar, the dreaded G word for many.
Huh. Yes, it often carries that weight. And the big mistake here is an over-reliance on analytical study.
Meaning focusing too much on the rules themselves.
Exactly. Spending hours memorizing tense names, diagramming sentences, consciously checking every rule before speaking, it leads straight to analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, your speech becomes incredibly slow and stilted because your brain is constantly running this internal grammar check.
Yeah.
And you never develop that natural, intuitive feel for what just sounds right, which is how native speakers operate.
So grammar rules aren't the enemy, but obsessing over them is.
Precisely. The perspective shift is key. Grammar isn't a set of obstacles. It's the essential scaffolding that helps us convey meaning accurately and clearly. Successful learners change the question. Instead of, is this 100% grammatically correct according to Rule 5b, they ask.
Does this sentence get my meaning across clearly and naturally?
Exactly. That's the functional view. And much like vocab, grammar is best acquired implicitly through lots and lots of meaningful exposure. This ties into Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis.
You mentioned that earlier, the comprehensible input idea.
Right. Krashen argued we acquire language best through input that's just slightly beyond our current level. He called it I plus $1. The I is your current level. The plus one is the new stuff that's just a little challenging, but still understandable because of context, visuals, or your existing knowledge.
Okay, so how does someone find their Y plus dollar material? It sounds a bit abstract.
It's actually quite practical. You look for content reading or listening where you understand, say, 70–80% comfortably. The remaining 20–30% is your plus one. For example, if you're an engineer learning English, reading articles about engineering in English is perfect. You already know the concepts.
So your existing knowledge provides the context to understand the slightly more complex English structures used to discuss those concepts.
That's exactly right. Your brain starts recognizing the patterns implicitly through repeated exposure, much like how kids learn their first language. They don't study grammar rules explicitly at age 3. They absorb patterns.
So explicit grammar study does have a place, but it comes later.
Yes, it should follow and complement the exposure. Successful learners use targeted practice with a diagnostic approach.
Diagnostic, like figuring out what's wrong.
Pretty much. Instead of doing random grammar drills from a textbook, they first identify their specific recurring problem areas. Maybe they always mess up articles, or they consistently struggle with conditional sentences, if clauses.
So find your pattern of errors.
Yes. Then dedicate focused practice only to those specific weaknesses until they improve. And use contextual exercises.
Not just fill in the blanks.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Apply the grammar in meaningful ways, rephrasing sentences, writing short paragraphs about your experiences using a target structure, summarizing something you read, and focus on high-frequency structures first, the grammar you actually need every day, like past tenses, present perfect, modals, before worrying about obscure rules.
Prioritize the useful stuff. Makes sense. What about correcting mistakes?
Crucial. We keep coming back to this, but error correction is vital feedback. But it's not just about someone telling you that's wrong.
It's about understanding why.
Yes, if you get corrected, don't just nod. Actively try to figure out the pattern. Okay, I keep using the wrong preposition after this verb. Why? What's the rule or pattern here? Recognizing the pattern in your errors is key to fixing them long term.
So you notice the error, understand the pattern, then practice the correct form.
Exactly. Which leads to active application. The goal is always to move from controlled practice, like, this week, I will deliberately use the passive voice 5 times in my journal, to being able to use that structure naturally and spontaneously in free conversation or writing.
From conscious effort to automatic habit.
That's the path. And for writing, specifically dedicating time to revise your own work just for grammar is a powerful way to reinforce correct usage. Become your own editor.
Okay, that's a really practical take on grammar. Which brings us to the final piece, maybe the most important, Technique 5. Cultivating a learner's mindset, resilience, and self-correction.
Absolutely. We can talk techniques all day, but none of them work long-term without the right mindset. This is the silent engine, the psychological foundation that drives everything else. Because let's face it, language learning is long, it's often cyclical, sometimes frustrating, you need mental toughness.
It's the differentiator, isn't it, between those who stick with it and those who drift away.
It really is. And a lot of this comes down to what Dr. Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset.
Dweck's work. Fixed versus growth.
Exactly. Successful learners operate from a growth mindset.
Right.
They fundamentally believe that their ability, in this case, language ability, isn't fixed. It's something that can be developed, strengthened through dedication, effort, and using smart strategies.
So challenges are opportunities, not threats.
Precisely. When they hit a plateau or make mistakes, their internal talk isn't, I'm bad at languages. It's, okay, this is hard. What strategy haven't I tried yet? Or I haven't mastered this yet. That yet is incredibly powerful. It implies future success is possible with persistence.
Whereas the fixed mindset.
The fixed mindset assumes talent is innate. If you struggle, it means you just don't have a language gene. So you get discouraged easily, avoid challenges to protect your ego, and often give up when things get tough. The growth mindset provides the resilience to push through those inevitable dips.
So a core part of that resilience is how you view mistakes.
Foundational. You have to embrace mistakes. Seriously, reframe that fear. Mistakes aren't failures. They are indispensable data points. They show you exactly where your understanding is fuzzy or incomplete. They're signposts for learning.
And successful learners actively look for feedback on mistakes.
Yes, they seek out environments, tutors, patient exchange partners, where it's safe to make errors and get constructive correction. That psychological safety is key to being willing to take risks and push your boundaries.
And you mentioned earlier the act of correcting an error helps learning.
Cognitively, yes. The process of making the mistake, recognizing it, figuring out the correction, and producing the correct form often embeds the learning much more deeply than just being told the right answer passively. You're actively problem solving.
Okay, so mindset is key. How do learners sustain motivation over the long haul? Months, years.
Great question. It's not about staying hyped up 254/7. It's about systems. First, realistic expectations. Ditch vague, huge goals like be fluent by summer.
Because they're overwhelming and demotivating.
Totally. Instead, set small, concrete, achievable goals. This week, I'll learn 5 new collocations and use them in conversation. Or I'll hold a 5-minute chat without switching to my native language.
Incremental progress.
Yes. And track your progress. Notice and celebrate the small wins. Did you understand a movie scene you didn't before? Did you use a new tense correctly? Acknowledge it. This creates positive feedback loops that fuel motivation.
And being kind to yourself.
Hugely important. Self-compassion. Understand that progress isn't linear. There will be good days and bad days. Trust the process. Consistency over time beats short bursts of perfectionism every single time. Forgive yourself for off days and just get back to it tomorrow.
As learners progress, does their self-awareness change?
Definitely. They become much better at self-assessment. They develop the skill to pinpoint their own weaknesses, even subtle ones, without needing a teacher to tell them every time. They start becoming their own teacher.
That sounds like metacognition, thinking about your own thinking.
Exactly. They reflect on what's working for them. Is SRS helping me more than reading for vocab right now? Is my speaking practice varied enough? They actively think about their learning process and adjust their strategy accordingly. They take ownership.
So they're constantly tweaking their approach.
Constantly refining. And the bedrock that makes all this sustainable day in, day out is the power of routine.
Habit over motivation.
Habit is king. Motivation is fickle. You can't rely on feeling inspired every day. Successful learners build language learning into their daily schedule. Small, consistent, manageable blocks of time that become automatic.
Like brushing your teeth.
Ideally, yes. And a great way to build these habits is habit stacking.
Linking a new habit to an existing one.
Precisely. After I pour my morning coffee, existing habit, I will do 10 minutes of shadowing new habit. Or during my commute, existing habit, I will listen to my target language podcast, new habit. Linking it makes it much more likely to stick. It removes the decision fatigue.
Creates unstoppable momentum.
That's the goal. And finally, knowing how to navigate plateaus, because they will happen.
When progress just seems to stop.
Yeah, when that happens, successful learners don't just quit. They recognize it, and they deliberately change things up. Try a different technique. Tackle much harder material for a while. Find a new conversation partner. Maybe revisit why they started learning in the first place. Reconnect with that initial passion. They understand it's part of the cycle.
Patience and persistence again.
Always.
Wow. That's an incredibly comprehensive look at what it takes. So, to quickly recap those 5 techniques. Number 1, immersive exposure, being active and intentional about creating your English environment.
Active, not passive.
Number 2, deliberate speaking practice. Getting over the fear, using output to learn, starting solo and moving to interaction.
Fluency often before accuracy.
Right. Number 3, strategic vocabulary acquisition. Context is king. Use SRS smartly, learn in chunks.
Use it or lose it.
Number 4, mastery of grammar through use pattern recognition via input, targeted practice on your weak spots, not just rules for rules' sake.
Functional grammar.
And number 5, underpinning it all, cultivating a learner's mindset, growth mindset, Embracing mistakes, setting realistic goals, building routines, and being resilient.
The engine that drives it all.
It really paints a clear picture. It's not about being some kind of linguistic genius. It's about deliberate, thoughtful, consistent application of these strategies.
That is absolutely the core message. The art of fluency isn't some secret held by a select few. It's a skill. And like any skill, it's developed through deliberate, consistent action. It's available to anyone who chooses to put in the work, walk the path with intention and patience. Your fluent future is waiting.
A great final thought. We hope this deep dive has given you a really clear, actionable roadmap for your own English journey. If you found these detailed insights valuable for transforming your own language practice, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss our next deep dive.